been sober 6 years, been drinking and using for about 2 decades. In between that time period, there's a 5-year prison sentence in there. And I didn't get sober till I was 37 years old. So that, that's kind of the general gist of it. I can tell you that when I got sober, it was a struggle. It wasn't easy. And I know today that it's completely worth it though. I'm so glad I stuck with it instead of resulting back to my old behavior.
Now, did you go through a treatment center yourself?
I went to a treatment center 3 different times. Same treatment center.
Okay, yeah, 3rd time's a charm.
Yeah, the first time I was there 4 days. The second time I was there about 20 days. And then there was about a 4th month period of me being out. And then I relapsed. And I wasn't really doing anything. I was completely miserable in those 4 months. I was just not drinking and using. That's it. And it was miserable. And then I went back on January 13th, 2013, and been sober ever since.
Now, have you ever felt superstitious about the 213s that are in your
I actually like it because my memory is shot, but I can remember 11313.
Okay.
Right? And that's not my password for anything, so I'm trying to use it.
Certainly not the password for this channel.
Yeah, it's not the password. Yeah, so I'm glad it's kind of had a little ring to it, 11313. Yeah, so what do you think about, since we're both in the industry, what do you think about using, programs from, way back then and applying that to, people in addiction today?
Great question. You mean from the programs from back then, like the original AA, how it works, or the original 12 steps?
Yeah, because the reason why I ask is because that's the program I worked.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an alcoholic and an addict, but that's the program that I worked that helped me, that saved my life. However, but I'm seeing today there's a different type of addict than there was back then, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the problem has become more sophisticated, but I don't think that necessarily requires a more profound solution. Although I do think that there is, it's human nature to look for the next best thing, the newest fad or the newest, and I think that might have been the reason that the 12 steps took off the way they did, because they were the next best thing,
right? And
they worked. And those two things were like a perfect storm for this explosion of population.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're 2 million deep worldwide, and I shouldn't say we're, because I can't acknowledge. Let's edit that out.
Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully you're good at editing. It's it's a fellowship that's 2 million deep worldwide, and I think today people are always looking for something new, and I think part of that is people don't know when they've actually worked the 12 steps.
Right.
I mean, you've seen this. People come in and they hear that it's a 12-step based program, and they go, "Oh, this I was hoping for. I need acupuncture, or I need equine therapy, or I need surf therapy, or I need, y'all don't have float tanks, it's like everyone's looking for the next best." More sophisticated treatment, and it's like, well, the stuff that you think you tried, you didn't try. You haven't actually worked the 12 steps. You worked some watered down version of the 12 steps. I mean, I'll often be with a client, for example, who thinks they're doing a 5th step with me, and they've showed up with 3 resentments.
Mm-hmm.
And that individual, I know a year from now, when they're looking at yet another treatment, will be telling themselves the 12 steps don't work.
Right.
And there's no way to convince them that they actually haven't given their all the first couple of times through.
Right.
And I think that leads people to want to look for, bigger and better things.
Well, and I truly believe, through my experience, if I didn't do the 12-step work in the beginning, I would have not stayed sober. Okay, I know that for a fact in my experience. But my concern or observations have been lately, how do you tell a 20-year-old kid who's in treatment for the first time, who may or may not be an addict, because that's a whole another thing that I think we can get into of, did someone get a DWI and just have bad luck and end up here? Now, is he part of the statistics of nationwide 20 million people in addiction? Are they counting that? Again, that's like a whole other thing. But how do you tell, a 20-year-old kid who got busted with pot from his mom and now he's in treatment and maybe some consequences, not legal, but maybe some school consequences, and how do you tell them, hey, you need to do this step work, and like, what's that approach like? If you've experienced an approach like that.
Yeah, I mean, well, when I got sober, I was 20.
Yeah.
And even today, I'll often look back on that experience and I'll wonder, had I really hit bottom? And I think part of the idea behind what we call intervention is this idea of raising the bottom. So that
creating the bottom.
Right. So the person doesn't hit an actual bottom of their own. They hit it sort of artificially, and I do believe that can work. And in my own case, that has worked. I don't know if it's about convincing the person in front of me, more of just holding the space myself. And I just think back to the man of 30. The man of 30 was probably not a real alcoholic when he quit drinking. You know the story in the big book, The Man of 30.
I've heard it.
And he probably was not a real alcoholic when he quit drinking. But as you read the story, you see that 30 years of sobriety later, he picks up a drink and he's dead within 4 years. And it looks like he had become an alcoholic. He had progressed into alcoholism in that time of sobriety. And so with these younger cats, it's like,
that's interesting.
Yeah, because they call him an exceptional
Right.
man in the book. And it's like, why is he exceptional? Well, he's exceptional because he actually started experiencing reasons to quit drinking while he still could quit drinking.
Right.
Most of us don't experience many reasons to quit drinking until long after we've crossed that threshold
Right.
into needing help. He didn't need any help.
Right.
And yet he still was experiencing consequences. And so he quit because he saw good reason to do so, and he was able to do it on a dime for 30 years. But then within 4 months of picking up again, he's in a hospital.
Right. So do you think somebody today has to hit their bottom, whether it's manufactured or whether they're coming in with either an emotional or physical bottom?
I guess it depends on how you define bottom. I've heard several definitions that I really like. One that I've adhered to for many years was, the bottom is the moment that alcohol stops working.
Right.
But the one that I'm sticking with right now, that's my favorite of what a bottom truly is the circumstances of my life, the consequences of my life keep piling up faster than I can justify them. Meaning that life throws me a curveball, and instead of me attributing that to my drinking, I bat it out of the park with an excuse, right? Life pitches something at me, I lose a job. It's that, can we swear on this thing? That fucking bitch in the office, right?
Yeah.
I break up, my significant other leaves me. Well, it's
Right.
their family. It was their pressure. My sister disowns me. My fucking mom talked to her. I lose the car. It's the goddamn bank.
Right.
But then eventually these consequences keep piling up faster than I can justify all of them. I can't keep knocking them out. And it's like, that's the point when a person has an opportunity to really connect up the circumstances of their life with their drinking or their drug use or their lack of control.
Another way I want to ask the question too,
Okay.
because that was a good answer. Do you think someone has to come into the program or ask for help with the desperation of a drowning man? Does that desperation have to be there? I mean, are we in the business of, back going to the book, like, well, maybe you haven't had enough. Maybe you should go back and,
Well, that's a dicey area as a recovered alcoholic who carries this message as a part of my own personal 12-step program, that is my answer.
Yeah.
As a professional who's being paid, we have a couple of different clients, right? We have the client who's the actual addict in front of us,
Right.
and then the other customer that we have is the addict's family.
Yeah.
And what do we owe that family? Well, we owe that family giving it our all, even if we think it's a sinking ship.
Right.
Really they're paying us to polish the brass on the sinking ship and to do our best and so it's like there are plenty of situations professionally where I'm already done in my personal life. I'm already way done in my personal life with this person and suggesting to them that they go find enough alcohol to be ready.
Yeah.
But professionally, I can't do that.
Right.
So yeah, no, in the professional arena, absolutely not. I think that's one of the ways that the rift between 12-step fellowships and the professional community can be mended is realizing that in the 12-step community, we don't sell people on powerlessness, and I see that happening a lot in the rooms.
Yeah.
We're trying to convince each other we're powerless. It's like, that's the job of the professionals. Let the professionals convince someone they need help, and then once they do, let them go to a 12-step fellowship to get that help.
Yeah.
But that's sort of the thing. It's like, if the fellowship wasn't watered down, and if
What do you mean by watered down?
I think it's quite possible for there to not be an actual message of recovery in 12-step fellowships, and I won't limit it to any one particular fellowship. But I think it's quite possible, for example, for an alcoholic to go to 90 meetings in 90 days and not ever once hear what his problem is, as described in the big book.
Yeah.
Let alone what the solution is.
Yeah.
And that can be sad,
Yeah.
I think it's possible when I take a new guy through the steps and I get them on their inventory and they're writing their 4-step, which with me is like within the first week or so. I mean, they're not waiting a long time to write inventory. And I believe that's how it was worked originally, and that's the cadence with which the steps were designed to be worked. And my biggest nightmare is, let's say because of scheduling, I can't get together with this individual for another week.
Right.
And they're just writing their inventory for the next week. And as we're parting ways to get together a week from now, they say to me, so should I just be going to meetings in the meantime? And my fear in my head is this kid's going to show up to a meeting, announce with pride that he's working on his inventory, and some asshat with a shiny coin hanging around his neck is going to say, you're too new to be doing that. And, and I don't want to fear my own fellowship, but, it's like I want to tell that kid, no, just hide under a rock in your room, until that inventory is. I have never sat down with someone who is brand spanking new to the 12 steps, never, like complete virgin ears, and describe to them the pace with which I plan on taking them through the steps and ask them, is that okay with you, that pace? And them saying, oh, that sounds too quick. I've never had that. It takes an old timer to think that that's too quick. Right? I mean, the people who are actually dying, who need the solution, I've literally had a newcomer look at me and I've said to him, well, some people think that's too fast. Are you going to be comfortable? And I've literally had a newcomer look at me and say, I don't think you can work through a solution too quickly.
Yeah.
Like if you have an illness and you need a solution to it, I don't think you can get that too fast. I'm like, it takes a newcomer to come up with something that genius, It takes an old timer to, the guy with 30 years, everything happens slowly in his world. It's like, go ahead and work a step a year. It's like most alcoholics, that's going to be a death sentence. Right.
Yeah, that's interesting. And we talked a lot about the 12-step side of it. And I think next time, I want to talk about, we'll talk about the clinical aspect of it. This is our first vlog or video. And so we just kind of wanted to get something out there. We'd like to hear from you guys. One of my things is like, who is our audience? Who are we talking to? It could be clinicians, it could be people in recovery, it could be people struggling. One of the things I used to get stuck on was, I felt like I was talking directly to a person in their addiction. And I've kind of realized that that's not going to happen. Only going off my own experience, when I was in my addiction, I was not looking at recovery videos on YouTube. Okay?
Right, this is probably someone in recovery.
Right, this is someone in recovery or their family, so I want to kind of gear it towards you guys.
What do you want to hear?
Yeah, what do you want to hear? What questions do you have? And we'll make a video about it. And our hope, well, my hope is to bring awareness to addiction, to give hope, and to inspire. Cool. All right, man. Oh.
No name tags.
So we've been trying to do this for a while.
Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'd probably start out with my name is Jaime, and I'm a clinical counselor at a treatment center.
Show off.
I've been in. That's so rude. Is it all about me? Is that what I mean? Okay, alright. So Derek, why don't you introduce yourself?
My name's Derek. I'm just a run-of-the-mill drunk, no letters after my name.
I got a couple letters. I'm proud of it, but not anymore because Derek just completely shot that down.
Now we're 2 million deep worldwide, and I shouldn't say we're, because I can't acknowledge. Let's edit that out.
Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully you're good at editing. So, it's it's a fellowship that's 2 million.
Family, so I want to kind of gear it towards you guys.
What do you want to hear?
Yeah, what do you want to hear? What questions do you have? And we'll make a video about it. And our hope, well, my hope is to bring awareness to addiction, to give hope, and to inspire.
And if we get 10,000 subscribers, we'll flip a coin and one of us will relapse on camera.
Yeah. If we get 10,000 subscribers, then we can quit our jobs. Relapse on camera. That's so wrong.
You'll probably edit that out. That's fine.
All right.
That felt a lot more natural.
Yeah.
I like that.